Hi everyone, welcome to the BC Refugee Hub's webinar, Programs and Services for Refugee Claimants. My name is Bahar Taheri, Project Consultant for the BC Refugee Hub, and I'll be guiding us through today's event. We are all here at the AMSA office in Burnaby. The BC Refugee Hub would like to thank AMSA for providing technical support for this online session. Thanks, Con. And we'd also like to gratefully acknowledge the financial support of the province of British Columbia through the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology. The BC Refugee Hub is funded by the province of British Columbia and administered by the Immigrant Services Society of BC, or ISS of BC. So let's launch our very first poll today. We would like to know how you're viewing this presentation. Are you in a group with your coworkers, or are you watching by yourself? So the results show that 89% are watching on your own and 11% are watching in a group. So it's great. It just gives us an idea of how you guys are watching and what the audience is, bigger than we think. So I'll move on to the next slide with our goals and objectives for today. So we're going to be discussing Stream B services that Mosaic and their partners offer for refugee claimants. And then we'll hear about Stream B services that ISS of BC and partners offer to refugee claimants. And we'll be defining Stream A funded services and with diversity. And then we'll be highlighting some recent statistical arrivals of refugee claimants. And we'll also discuss throughout each of the different presentations trends and observations, key challenges, and gaps in services for refugee claimants. So our agenda for today shows I'll start off with some BC Refugee Hub updates and statistical highlights, and then we'll have Alexandra and Celine from Mosaic present on Stream B services, and then Miad from Settlement Orientation Services at ISS of BC will present on Stream B services, and Fiona from Diversity will present on Stream A services. Each of the presentations will be followed by a question and answer period. So let's launch our second poll. Just so we understand who's in the audience today, is your organization or program a BC SIS funded program? You can pick Stream A, B, or neither. So it looks like 25% are funded with Stream A, 17% are funded Stream B, and 58% of our audience is neither. So that's really interesting to know that 58% are neither, so we can kind of we know what our presenters will know what to present a little more on. So just a reminder of how to submit questions. You can submit in the question box or on the or email us at refugeehub@issbc.org. Okay, so I'm not sure if I introduced myself, but my name is Bahar. I'm with the BC Refugee Hub. I would like to highlight resources and training materials that the BCRH has developed this past year, all relating to directly to refugee claimants. The materials have all been created to build capacity in BC for everyone working with and supporting refugee claimants. So our first one is the BC Settlement and Integration Services Stream A and B Inventory of Services. This was created in January 2019, and it shows all the organizations that were funded by the province under Stream A and B in Metro Vancouver, Fraser Valley, and Vancouver Island. And it was created to foster better referrals between different organizations that are funded under the different streams. It has an inventory list of different information, but one I'd like to highlight is the free and low cost English classes, which is something I often get requests for by service providers and clients themselves. But it has a lot of other information, contact information, all sorts of things for you to refer refugee claimants to different programs. Next up, we developed a document in a frequently asked questions document specific to refugee claimants in British Columbia. This was updated in January 2019. There's 3 different sections: making a claim, the refugee claim hearing, and refugee claimant settlement needs. With a total of 18 questions covered with detailed answers and links, this is an excellent starting point for This is an excellent starting point if you're onboarding new staff members or have a client who has questions about the process. We also developed an info sheet about the refugee claim process, also released in January 2019. This info sheet covers the first 24 hours, the first 2 weeks, and beyond the first 2 weeks for a refugee claimant, and gives a snapshot for the process for claimants, so folks are a bit more familiar with the whole process that a refugee claimant usually goes through. Also on the hub, we have training webinars that we've had in the past. So we've had training webinars on what are refugee claimants eligible for during the claim process, how to support refugees and refugee claimants facing domestic violence, employment supports and services for refugee claimants, and primary and mental health care for refugee claimants. So these were all the topics that were informed by a feedback survey we sent out. And so we started with these main topics to cover the kind of the top issues that came up. So these are all under our training section with the videos, the PowerPoint decks, and any resource materials from our expert speakers. And this was all there to help support capacity building. And if you have any new hires or anyone that needs to kind of hear the information if they're not sure, then it's all there for you to listen to. So because we've already done these trainings on these specific topics, we didn't focus too much on that today. Today's webinar is more about Stream A, Stream B, and clarifying the difference and what's available to refugee claimants. Another section I wanted to highlight is the What's New section. These are regular blog posts, and this section is updated frequently. Essentially, anything posted on the hub will show up in this section right on the front page. And I'd like to invite everyone listening that if you have any programs or services related to refugees, you can email me and we can post the information on the hub. And we have events, resources, new programs, reports, fact sheets, really anything that's related to refugees in BC, we usually post on this section. And we also promote it on social media, on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So next, statistical highlights. So the BC Refugee Hub releases quarterly bulletins on refugee claimant arrivals, and the statistics are directly from Settlement Orientation Services, or SOS. I won't go into too much detail about those stats because Miad will cover those in her presentation, but they are also on the hub and anyone can access them. I also wanted to share some statistical highlights today that Stats Canada has released and the Government of Canada has posted on their website. Statistics for refugee claimant arrivals broken down by city in British Columbia are usually not available. I know I often get emails with everyone asking for like, what are the arrivals in Richmond or Langley, and we don't really have access to these stats. That's why for the bulletins we rely on SOS, and that kind of gives us a snapshot, although that doesn't cover everybody, so it's really difficult to have a complete snapshot of arrivals. The chart in this slide was released by Stats Canada. The number of asylum claimants has fluctuated over the years, with previous observed peaks in 2008, about 37,000, and 2001, about 44,000. The number of asylum claimants more than tripled since 2015, increasing from about 16,000 in 2015 to over 50,000 in 2017 and well over 55,000 in 2018. In the next slide, this has been released by on the Government of Canada website. So individuals can make an asylum claim at a port of entry at a Canada Border Services Agency, CBSA, Inland Office, or an Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC Inland Office. CBSA or IRCC officials will then determine if an individual is eligible to make an asylum claim. These numbers in this chart, in this slide, reflect asylum claim numbers for 2019, so up until August. Asylum claimants processed by CBSA and IRCC between January and August 2019. There was a total of 2,390 processed claims between January and August, with the highest number in July at 475. According to UNHCR Canada, based on current trends, Canada is set to receive about the same number of asylum claims in 2019 as it did in 2017 and 2018. In the next slide, these are stats released by UNHCR Canada. Irregular arrivals in Canada, comparison between 2017 and 2019. The total number of refugee claimants who crossed the Canadian border at an unofficial entry point during the first 7 months of 2017 dropped by almost a third, 31%, compared to the same period last year. So this is for all of Canada, not specifically British Columbia. Under Canadian and international law, it is not a punishable offense to cross the border without authorization if this is to seek asylum. Due to circumstances they are fleeing, asylum seekers are often compelled to enter a territory without the required travel documents or authorization. So I just wanted to highlight these specific stats that are quite general and not necessarily about specific cities in BC, but at least it gives us an idea of what the trends are statistically. If anyone has any questions at this point, you can type them in the question box, although I don't see any questions yet. So we'll just move on to our next presentation, and then we can come back if you have questions about these statistics or anything about the BC Refugee Hub. So our first presentation will be from Mosaic with Alexandra Dolly, Manager of Refugee Settlement and Integration Programs, and Salim Spindari, Senior Manager of Refugee and Migrant Workers Programs. So welcome Alexandra and Salim, and I'll let you take over.
Thank you. So thank you, Bahar, and to the BC Refugee Hub for the invitation to speak today about Mosaic and our partners' Stream B services for refugee claimants. As you mentioned, my name is Alexandra Dolly, and I'm the Manager of Refugee Settlement and Integration Program at Mosaic Settlement Agency. And to my left is my fearless leader, Salim Spindari, the Senior Manager of Refugees and Migrant Workers Program.
Thank you, Alexandra. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's presentation. And I'm thankful, as Alexandra said, for AMSA, Refugee Hub, and Bahar for the invitation. Today, I would let Alexandra do most of the talking, and I'm here to support her and provide maybe assist her in answering some of the question. But I would like to begin by saying that Mosaic is one of the largest settlement agencies in Canada, and we are a registered charity serving newcomers, including immigrants, asylum seekers, otherwise known as refugee claimants, resettled refugees, migrant workers, and other communities in Vancouver and the Fraser Valley, as well as throughout the province of BC and overseas via online programs. Mosaic also is a sponsorship agreement holder, and with that capacity, we have signed an agreement with the Government of Canada to privately sponsor refugees. Through our expertise, client-centered approach, and passion, we identify, resolve, and advocate in issues towards empowering newcomers to fully participate in Canadian society. And I would let Alexandra maybe tell us more about the organization.
Sounds good. So Mosaic was established in 1976, and we deliver 40 programs and services. We have 51 client-accessible sites, and we serve over 28,000 clients annually. So 13,992 of these clients are in funded programs, and 13,112 approximately are in fee-for-service programs as of last year. We are a leader in providing refugee and refugee claimant support services, and we'd be hard-pressed not to point out that meaningful collaboration is at the heart of what we do. So Mosaic is proud to serve refugee claimants, and we are both a Stream A and a Stream B contract holder with the Government of British Columbia. We also receive funding from private donors, which enables us to provide dynamic support for refugee claimants. Our Stream A services are included throughout Vancouver, Burnaby, and New Westminster, and our Stream B services are focused on the Fraser Valley, including Mission, Hope, and Abbotsford, as well as throughout Metro Vancouver and Surrey. So considering that a large proportion of people in this webinar may not actually be Stream A or Stream B contract holders, let's provide a brief overview of what that is. The BC SIS, also in long form, the BC Settlement and Integration Services Program, is funded by the Government of British Columbia through the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology. The BC SIS program aims to support the social and economic integration of newcomers to the province. So really, it's serving clients who are not eligible for federally funded services. Now, within BC SIS, Stream B is intended to meet the specific needs of refugee claimants, also or asylum seekers, so people who intend to file a refugee claim and eventually obtain permanent residency status. We provide mental health supports to all refugee groups within this stream. So not just refugee claimants, but also resettled refugees and people with permanent status with refugee background. Now let's break down what our Stream B services include. Probably at the heart of what we're doing is immigration and initial settlement support. So this is for refugee claimants throughout the Fraser Valley, including Abbotsford-Chilliwack Mission, and throughout the Metro Vancouver area, including Surrey. And another important piece is trauma counseling and psychological supports. So this is provided to all refugee groups, as I mentioned, throughout the Fraser Valley. The next piece is customized employment supports. This is provided for refugee claimants in the Fraser Valley, Metro Vancouver, and throughout Surrey. And finally, community capacity building. So we work with community stakeholders throughout the Fraser Valley, and this includes enhancing bridging of services and accessibility of services that are available in Metro Vancouver. So throughout my presentation, I'll be touching on all 4 of these components and making sure that you know how to confidently refer clients to get each of these supports. So as I mentioned, collaboration is really at the heart of what we do at Mosaic, especially within our Stream B services. So Mosaic delivers Stream B services in collaboration with 4 fantastic organizations. The first being Inasmuch in Abbotsford, second being Options in Surrey, next being the Kinbrace Ready Tours in Vancouver, and finally with Archway Community Services. Now Archway may sound new to you, but they're actually an old kid on the block, and they are formerly known as Abbotsford Community Services. So Options and Mosaic provide high quality services for refugee claimants in Surrey, and as levels of irregular crossings remain high, and as Vancouver's vacancy rate and high cost of living remains very steep, we're experiencing increasing numbers of refugee claimants and asylum seekers seeking refuge in the Fraser Valley. This is why committed organizations, it's important to point out that committed organizations have been working with refugee claimants for a long time throughout the Fraser Valley. This includes Chilliwack Community Services and Archway, who are both Stream A contract holders. Inasmuch also supports refugee claimants in Abbotsford and was primarily driven through private donations until recently. Our Stream B funding has allowed an increase in the depth of services available, particularly enriching initial settlement supports, mental well-being services such as one-on-one counseling, and really through customized employment services for refugee claimants. So let's talk a little bit about our client demographic. Bahar has provided a lot of really meaningful data, statistics, and information, and I'll just touch on a little bit of ours. So first of all, our clients are very diverse in the country of origin, and we have people from over 50 countries that receive our Stream B services. We're seeing a trend. So in the most recent months, we've been seeing increasing numbers of people from Mexico, Honduras, Colombia, and India. Our top 5 countries of origin for refugee claimants are as follows: 16% from Colombia, 12% from Mexico, 13% from Iran, 6% from Afghanistan, and 4% from Iraq. Also important to note is that 49% of the people we serve arrive to Canada as a family unit. As you can imagine, this creates its own challenges for housing, for education access, and for mental well-being for both children, youth, seniors, and adults within the family. So earlier I broke down the key points that we provide support and services within our program. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Firstly, immigration and initial support. So our teams offer a full suite of pre and post hearing supports, and this includes navigating the refugee claim process. Second, being housing referrals, so emergency, transitional, and long-term. Basically, we're supporting people from if they call and they're alone in the downtown east side, or if they're looking for a longer-term housing solution. Our team is dedicated to helping find them solutions. Of course, another important component is access to legal aid and access to basic necessities, as well as opportunities for community bridging and connection. Another important piece you can imagine would be other immigration and initial settlement supports. So components like accessing healthcare, social assistance, and work permits. Our team is very well versed in all areas of support, and we have strong relationships with people in the healthcare system, such as doctors, nurses, RNs, as well as people from BC Cancer Agency. So basically, if a client is facing multiple barriers, we can stand and walk beside them as they navigate the system. Another really important piece of our immigration and initial settlement support is the Kimbrace Ready Tour. The Kimbrace Ready Tour is an opportunity to tour a hearing room, understand the refugee hearing process, and learn more about the people that would be involved. There are 2 to 3 tours that are held per month at the 300 West Georgia Street on the 2nd floor downtown. To register, you can contact Fran Gallo at ready@refugeeclaim.ca, or there's her phone number. As of yesterday, the next available tour date is November 22nd. Now, it's important to note that this is an important and valuable learning opportunity, both for refugee claimants who will be navigating the system, as well as people from your team who would be working with refugee claimants. Fran and her team offer the opportunity to come in, to sit, to understand what the hearing will look like, and to ask questions so that people aren't going into the room for the first time on their hearing date. This has been very valuable. Many of our clients, I have some clients that come to mind who thought it would be an open hearing with members of the wider public present. So if you don't know what to expect, you can imagine how your imagination would completely wander. Another important piece is, of course, the trauma support for refugees and refugee claimants. So we offer culturally and linguistically appropriate trauma support for refugees and refugee claimants all throughout the Fraser Valley and Surrey as needed. This includes psychosocial education, supports, and trauma counseling for refugees, one-on-one and group-based. So our team that are referring people, as well as the counselors they would access services from, are very aware of different cultural taboos and stigmas that may be associated, and they can help to ease the connection into counseling, such as framing it as, hey, it's somebody that you can speak to. And honestly, what we found is people are not hesitant to access the services, and we've had a very strong track record and benefit of people who have attended it. I'll be putting the contact information at the end of the slide of people you can contact to make sure that you can refer clients smoothly as possible, especially for services like this that are pretty sensitive. So the next important piece is customized employment supports. And Mosaic has over 40 years of experience providing high quality, well-connected, specialized employment services for newcomers to BC, including programs specifically tailored for refugees and refugee claimants. We're pleased to offer these services with our partners for refugee claimants throughout Metro Vancouver, the Fraser Valley, and Surrey. Services offered include orientation to employment-related supports that are relevant to the individual's work and educational experience, support in writing a Canadian resume, job search techniques, assistance in resume writing, job interview skills, mentorship connections and opportunities, as well as, of course, bridging and connecting people with potential employers. We've had some very exciting events, such as the one held in April 2019 with Options, which is a job fair specifically for refugee claimants. Because as you may be aware, refugee claimants' SIN numbers start with a 9, and this can be quite stigmatizing as they look for jobs when people know that they may not be here permanently, depending on the outcome of their case. Another component of our program that I'm excited to talk to you about today is the community capacity building. So community capacity building is a very unique component of our Stream B program. Monthly, in partnership with Archway Community Services, we chair the Fraser Valley Multi-Agency Partnership, or Fraser Valley MAP. This might sound familiar to you because it's modeled very similarly to MAP BC. The Fraser Valley MAP is a collective. We facilitate networking and information sharing among relevant stakeholders, and our mission is to work collaboratively to identify barriers and provide solutions to promote the protection, well-being, and integration of refugee claimants throughout the Fraser Valley. Our collective includes over 25 different refugee claimant serving organizations, people with lived experience as refugee claimants, students, government representatives, and other community members, as well as employers that are interested in hiring refugee claimants throughout the Fraser Valley. So Fraser Valley MAP's pillars are collaborate, because we coordinate and enhance access to services and resources for refugee claimants in the Fraser Valley. We work to educate. So to educate service providers and members of the wider community and to amplify refugee claimant voices, and to engage. We engage with government bodies about refugee claimant needs in the Fraser Valley. As I mentioned, we meet monthly. There's no meetings in July and August, and our next meeting will be held on the afternoon of Tuesday, September 24th. Please contact me if you'd like more information, and I can give you the top secret times and meeting location details. So as I mentioned, at Mosaic, we strive to be person-centered in our programming. This includes regular scheduled community bridging and integration events. We like to have fun with our clients. We like people to feel integrated and connected in the community. We work for meaningful donation distribution and quality one-on-one meetings to really help clients find out-of-the-box solutions to everyday and to more complex challenges. Mosaic and Stream B staff have very strong relationships Mosaic Stream B staff, as well as our partners, have strong working relationships with the YWCA, Red Cross, Belkin House, Union Gospel Mission, and other shelters. We have great ties and meaningful opportunities to facilitate key donation distribution opportunities for clients. And we're highly motivated to make sure that clients have the essentials to live their life with dignity. It's really been a pleasure to support clients from being downtown and homeless to active community members, volunteering, attaining employment, and otherwise giving back. Mosaic and all of our Stream B partners are committed to making sure that all of the refugee claimants' essential needs are met, and that they know that we're walking alongside them while we navigate the refugee claim process. That's why any referrals that we make is a warm handoff, and we make sure that we follow up regularly with our clients and that they felt that they were deeply cared for. So that's what I'll leave it at for going through our Stream B programming. And I'd like to also take this opportunity to point out some upcoming workshops for refugee claimants. I'd like to preface this by saying this isn't all that we're doing, this is just a taste. And I want you to be aware that you can refer your clients and we'd be happy to support them in these different ways. So firstly, upcoming we have a resume writing workshop. This is going to be held this Thursday, and it will have Farsi, Spanish, French, and English language support available. Please note that registration is required and there's limited space available. And another component that we've noticed is for clients who may be interested in catering business or in certain jobs in manufacturing or otherwise, food safe and first aid can be very meaningful. So we do have some trainings coming up. This one will be held on September 20th and 21st at our Surrey office location. Clients are able to participate if they have Spanish or strong level 5 English. Again, registration is required and limited spaces are available. A meaningful ongoing program that we're proud to offer at Mosaic is English Conversation Circle for refugee claimants. We've been offering this ongoing for about a year, and we've seen numbers steadily increasing. Clients can join us from child to senior, and there's Spanish, Punjabi, and French language support available. So they can come in a very comfortable language atmosphere, and from levels beginner to more advanced, they can improve their English language skills. And finally, as I mentioned, with the food safe and first aid, we have the 20th and 21st in Surrey, And if your client happens to be located in the Burnaby or Metro Vancouver area, they're invited to join our other workshop October 4th and Saturday, October 5th, with, again, Spanish and English language support available. All of those are also posted on the BC Refugee Hub website. So thank you, Bahar, for helping us promote and get the word out that we're here to help. We really are happy to help. Please don't ever hesitate to contact us with your clients if they need support. You can contact us at our Mosaic Vancouver location with the phone number there, Mosaic Surrey location, and of course, you can contact us at refugeeclaimants@mosaicbc.org. If your client is most comfortable sending an email themselves, they can send it in their language of preference, and we'll make sure that it's sorted out to the person who is most suitable to support them. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for your work in supporting refugee claimants.
Thanks, Alexandra. We have some questions posted. So the first one is, you mentioned that Mosaic offers trauma counseling supports. How can someone access that?
That's a great question. So we offer our trauma counseling support primarily throughout the Fraser Valley and also in Surrey as needed. Within the Fraser Valley, you can either contact Mosaic directly, the website, as I posted earlier, refugeeclaimant@mosaicbc.org, or you can contact our partners directly at Archway Community Services. We have had people from as far as Chilliwack accessing services, and basically we just need to know what type of support they would need. If the client has already expressed being open to counseling or to another form of support, whether that be group or individual or so on and so forth, and also their linguistic needs, as well as if they need to have any specific preferred gender of the person who would be supporting them. It's also important to reaffirm that this service is not just for refugee claimants, but also for refugees of all backgrounds. So please, if you happen to be working with somebody who already has their permanent residence in Abbotsford or Chilliwack or in the Fraser Valley or Surrey, don't hesitate to contact us at the refugee claimant email address, and we'll make sure that we can sort out the most direct way of finding them some support.
The next question is for the demographics you provided in one of the slides.
Mm-hmm.
Are they specific to refugee claimants, or are they for all Mosaic clients?
No, those demographics that were provided are for refugee claimants specifically, and they're also not limited just to Mosaic refugee claimant clients, but also Mosaic and our partners at Archway, Inasmuch, Options, and Kimbrace. Mm-hmm.
Great. And then the last question is, you mentioned you have a diverse client base from many different countries.
Mm-hmm.
Does this present a challenge when for your refugee claimant services? Is there somehow you have to target your services for different cultural groups? How does that work into service delivery?
That's another good question. We do offer several different languages of support at Mosaic. So in terms of linguistic, it's been yet to be a challenge. What you'll notice is in our upcoming workshops and trainings, we kind of do an assessment of what linguistic group we're seeing most frequently and who would need support. So that's why you'll see that with our top numbers right now being from Colombia and Mexico, we do offer Spanish language support for some of the employment workshops. But as you'll see in our resume writing workshop, we offer it with Farsi, Hindi, and other languages of support. We also do see clients from many other language groups, such as Hungarian clients and clients that may not be able to easily find linguistic support elsewhere.
Okay, that kind of ties into the next question, which was, is there Arabic speakers for the conversation circles, resume writing, etc.? I think you just mentioned that.
For this round, we don't have that lined up, but if you reach out to us and we know that it's a need, we can absolutely amend that for the next one and make sure that there's Arabic language support.
The next question is, for your services, do you have significant wait lists? How soon can someone generally meet with a settlement worker once they've reached out?
We don't have waitlists at this time, and it depends on the linguistic needs of the client. So if they were speaking something such as if they were from Eritrea and they needed support, it may take a week to make sure that we have, depending on their need. If they were homeless, we would make sure that we can prioritize their needs. If it was employment support, it may take, I would say, no longer than a week to make sure that they get in. For other more common languages, we typically can support the client same day, next day for services.
Perfect. And then just to reiterate, because the question is there, how are refugee claimants referred to Mosaic services? I know you already mentioned it, but if you want to mention it again.
Sure, yeah. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Mosaic. We do have really strong connections with a variety of immigration lawyers, with CBSA, with the legal advocacy and legal aid, and the most straightforward way to do so is to either phone our offices, either in Vancouver or Surrey, or you can email us at refugeeclaimant@mosaicbc.org, and we'll make sure that the client's needs are addressed as soon as possible. And we also, Salim just whispered in my ear, transportation. We also can make sure that clients are.
It's really important to know that transportation is available. So if we have a group of clients who are trying to attend Cambridge's Ready Tour, then we will make sure that we arrange transportation to bring them in. And for those attending the different drop-in classes or the training that we provide, if they need transportation as well, we would provide bus tickets to them to facilitate their participation.
And it's also worth noting with transportation, we want to make sure that nobody falls through the gaps for mental well-being services due to living in a more isolated or remote community. So if your client would like counseling, we can either work with the counselor and translator or interpreter to make sure that they are able to access services, or we can find out-of-the-box solutions. So even right now, I know we have some clients that are receiving counseling in person with the counselor, with interpretation being done over the phone. So we're very open to any solution to make sure that your client is supported.
And then since we're live, Catherine from Mosaic actually messaged and said we do have Arabic language support for the resume workshop. So
perfect.
Yeah. So
there we go.
There you go. And then I have one last question, and then we'll move on to Miad. Does Mosaic offer clients referral to food banks?
So at this time, we have strong working relationships, and as needed, we can certainly support clients in accessing food banks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you, Bahar.
And if you still have questions for Mosaic, we're still going to have time for questions after everyone's presentation, so it's not over for you, just to let you know. So we'll move on to Miad Al-Harbi, who's the Manager of Settlement Orientation Services, which is a program of ISS of BC. So I'll turn it over to you, Miad.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Bahar, for organizing this great webinar, and for AMSA for hosting this webinar. It's my pleasure to co-represent with our colleague from Mosaic and Diversity, and I will represent ISS of BC Stream B for this afternoon. My name is Miad Al-Harbi, and I'm the manager of the Settlement Orientation Services at the Immigration Service Society for British Columbia. And I will just start with an overview of the Immigration Service Society for British Columbia, which is a settlement agency that provides a supportive environment for newcomers to Canada of all backgrounds. Since 1972, ISS has been providing a variety of support services for immigrants and refugees to help them get settled, find careers, and learn all they need to know about starting their new lives in Canada. ISS staff provides settlement, education, and employment services for over 20,000 clients every year. Along with our colleague Mosaic, ISS BC is a contract holder in the province in providing Stream B services within the Lower Mainland, with a specific area of concentration which will be covered through the presentation. ISS BC Stream B services are provided through these three venues. We provide immigration and initial settlement support, which is provided by the Settlement Orientation Services SOS. Also, we are providing trauma counseling support for refugee claimants and refugees in general through the Vancouver Association for Survivors of Torture VAST. And also we have the community capacity building run by the BC Refugee Hub, who's hosting our, who's organizing our webinar today. So we have two locations, one in Vancouver and one in City. Starting with the immigration and initial settlement support, which is provided by SOS. SOS is a team of 12 staff working together to provide refugee claimants on the Lower Mainland with the first language support in 8 different languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Farsi, Dari, Swahili, and Somali. Our services include a wraparound service support services that assist refugee claimants during the initial settlement and claim process. Our services include orientation and guidance about the refugee claim process, assistance in filling out the government forms, and navigating the refugee claim and immigration. We also help with the referrals to meet the immediate needs such as the legal aid, social assistance, Van City, Food Bank, Ready Tour, and Stream A. Our team also provides group services through our workshops and English conversation circle. For example, we run a weekly series of workshops for refugee claimants on a variety of topics, including employment, settlement, banking, legal and health issues, housing, and more. These workshops take place every Tuesday in Vancouver and every second Thursday in Surrey. Interpreters, bus tickets, and snacks are provided. Also, we have SOS is running an English conversation circles that which is informal gathering where participants can improve and practice their English language skills, learn more about the Canadian culture, and just making new friends. We have these in circles every Saturday in Vancouver and every Monday in Surrey. Housing support is another significant component of our services. With the generous support from our funders, the City of Vancouver and the Ministry of Jobs, Trade and Technology, our housing programs help refugee claimants secure short and long-term housing options. This program was designed to provide housing information, assistance in accessing housing, and support that enable clients to access permanent housing. In addition, we have built great relationships and robust network of shelters, transition houses, and landlords across the Metro Vancouver area. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all housing service providers for their ongoing support to accommodate our referrals. I wish I can name all the organizations because through their support, we have made a significant progress with this program by reducing the time that claimants stay in a short-term accommodation and in securing a long-term housing option so they can start building their new lives in Canada. Now let's move to the second component of ISS of BC Stream B, which is the delivered by our partner VAST. Through this powerful partnership with VAST, refugee claimants and refugees in all categories are obtaining trauma counseling support. VAST does this by providing one-on-one trauma counseling to refugee claimants during the refugee determination process and the post-determination process up to the permanent resident status. In addition, the program addressed the social psychological effects of the traumas on individuals and families. They also assist with the psychological barriers of a trauma on the settlement process on individuals and family, which include accessing, securing health care and housing finding, maintaining education and employment opportunity, and building, fostering communities. VAST is running a variety of great programs for refugee claimants, including the Getting Through It, which is a peer support group for refugee claimants, prepare them for their refugee hearing, and provides psychosocial and settlement support while creating a peer network of support. The Getting Through It support group is held every Wednesday from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Another program that VAST has is the Community Kitchen, which is run by the refugee claimants who share the recipes and dishes from their home countries. It's a wonderful opportunity for refugees to get together and share their cultures and food. Another recent program held by VAST is the Now What, which is designed as a drop-in support group with no registration required. It's to provide a safe space for both refugee claimants and government-assisted refugees to build and rebuild trust in others and in communities. Sessions are held in every Monday. Not only in Metro Vancouver, VAST provides services in Victoria as well. Refugee claimants in the island are eligible for individual counseling sessions through the partners such as Vancouver Island Counseling Center for immigrants and refugees. In addition to these essential services provided by VAST, a consultation for service provider, clinician currently working with refugees are provided through the provincial mental health coordinator, Mariana Martez. Mariana has an extensive 25 years of experience working with survivors of political violence and torture in Canada and Latin America. To contact Mariana, I will share the number, her number. The next slide, which is the third component of Stream B services, is the community capacity building, which is, as I noted earlier, is delivered by by BC Refugee Hub. BC Refugee Hub is an online resource hub that assists and empowers both individuals and organizations in refugee process, which includes sharing information and resources to support refugees living in BC, also providing publication and statistics on all refugees categories, providing trauma resource training resources, toolkits, and information and community services. The hub is updated on a weekly basis, and information is regularly being added and reviewed. If you need to learn more information about the BC Refugee Hub, please contact Bahar Tahiri. The next slide. In addition to the Stream B services I have just described, I also want to tell you more about some of our non-Stream B services that provide a specific area of support to refugee claimants. It includes, one is the income assistance outreach sessions, which is allow refugee claimants to work with a worker from the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, who provides a free one-on-one information consultation to refugee claimants and fast-track their applications. Vancouver sessions are held on the first three Tuesday of the month, and city sessions are held every second Tuesday of the month. After several months of successful collaboration between our office and the pro bono law firm, McCarthy Law Firm, in assisting claimants with obtaining legal assistance, in assisting refugee claimants with assisted by the many refugee claimants were assisted by the firm in filling out the basis of a claim and successfully passed their hearing with the positive notice of decision. We are delighted to extend the partnership for this fall and refer 60 new cases of claimants who have been denied legal assistance from the legal aid. That is in addition to the in-house advocacy legal program at ISS of BC, which is enable our clients and staff to obtain consultations and legal orientation specific to refugee claimants. In terms of housing, we are continuing to help refugee claimants with providing temporary housing at our Welcome Center by allocating a number of beds for refugee claimants depending on the availability. We also have identified that some single individual with a special needs or extensive need have difficulties to being housed in the shelters. So as a result, with the substantial backing from Airbnb, we have managed to accommodate some claimants in the Airbnb houses, and we continue to receive support from Airbnb in securing accommodations for such clients. Our on-site medical clinic is another great program we are proud to provide in Vancouver and also in City. The clinics provide first language medical services along with the immigration medical exams for refugee claimants. In order to stay connected with settlement workers and to get the updated on the latest news regarding the refugee claim, we are using a tool called the Newcomer Info. This program is offer a real-time information start sharing with refugee through the cell phone. And we use it to share information, updates about the workshops and events targeted to refugee claimants. And lastly, we have identified a significant gap in communication among refugee claimants who cross the borders and have no financial means to obtain SIM cards, to stay connected with their family back home, and also to connect with their settlement workers and housing search worker in their first few weeks in their settlement process. Therefore, we were glad when TELUS identified this gap and donated 500 SIMS cards with a 1-month free plan to help refugee claimants during their settlement process. So if you have identified a client who could benefit from this program, please don't hesitate to email me. I will request some basic information so that claimant can obtain the card. Before I wrap up, I wanted to share some numbers and trends that we have seen at our offices in Surrey and Vancouver. On the screen, as you can see, you see the number of the new refugee claimants clients from the first 6 months of 2019. In fact, we have observed a steady increase in the number of the new refugee claimants receiving services at our Vancouver and City offices. The month of February and May saw the highest increase with 172 and 178 new clients respectively. We are seeing that in terms of trends and observation, we are seeing that refugee claimants from Iran continue to be the top source country seen since April 2018. Much more Iranian families coming after the changes from ARB regarding the less complex file. And also we have seen large numbers of refugee claimants whose family have a substantial needs. Many of these families are large and include pregnant women, newborns, and claimants with very critical medical conditions. There were some inconsistency regarding the work permit application due to the glitch in the RC system. The problem was reportedly solved in February, but for the first 6 months, clients were still reporting that they are not receiving their work permit. However, we have noticed an improvement in the system, and refugee claimants are obtaining their work permit by checking the box in Schedule 12. Another trend we have been noticing is the cases transferred from the different provinces. There is a growing number of families arriving from different provinces. These families who are in the income assistance and have to close their files in their original province to receive a benefit from British Columbia. The process consumes a long time, and not having income assistance increased the pressure on finding a permanent housing. Most of the cases is referred from Ontario and Quebec. And finally, I just want to share some updates on the policy. Claimants who didn't check the box in Schedule 12 for applying for work permit will have to wait 100 days as the processing time for issuing a work permit, according to the latest update from the Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship of Canada RCC website. This delay in issuing work permits is definitely intensifying the pressure on social programs and leads to more frustration among refugee claimants. Another update is the since May 2019, the government of Canada has designated the all designated countries of origin. This development helps claimants from these countries to apply for work permit and access medical services under the interim federal health programs after their arrival without waiting for 6 months. Without waiting 6 months, and we have seen that Mexico is one of the countries that most of our clients are coming from. So that's all what I have for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm so happy to I'll be so happy to answer any questions and give any further information if needed.
Great. Thanks, Miad. So we do have some questions. Um, you mentioned there's a Tele SIM card program.
Yes.
How can someone access this? Is there an eligibility criteria that you look for?
So the eligibility criteria is basically simple, that the refugee claimants have crossed the border or have no means to obtain a SIM card, and they are not applying for they are in the process in the income assistance and they haven't obtained the benefits yet. So I would require basic information, their names, and any proof that they haven't got any financial assistance, and then we will issue the SIM card.
And then, do they have to be a client of SOS? How does that?
If there is anyone who needs that, we will provide that.
Okay, great. And then how do clients sign up for newcomer.info if they're not a client of SOS?
There is in our website, there is a page that where you can sign up for a newcomer info. It's in the home page. You just click on that basic information and you will be on the list.
What is the eligibility criteria for rooms at the Welcome House? You mentioned there's some rooms that are available.
Yeah, so the eligibility criteria, we will go through the looking for options for refugee claimants. If there is no options in terms of shelters, Red Cross or YWCA, and then we will be able to help the clients with that. The most important thing is that they are refugee claimants, have a refugee ID, and is struggling to find accommodation.
And that's based on availability?
Yes, also.
Great. So for work permit delays, you said there's been delays because of a glitch in February, or it's been fixed in February.
Yes.
What has been the impact you've noticed on the client, like because of this glitch, because of this slowdown?
Yeah, so what we have seen is that the main problem is they don't know, is it their application was not submitted, or there is something wrong with the application, or it's not in the system yet. So very interesting cases we have seen is within the one family, the couple who is applying for the work permit. One of the family member will obtain, who's just to check the box in Schedule 12. One of the family member will get the work permit, and the other are waiting because of the glitch. So it's been very confusing, and then we have to call IRCC and then clarify what is the issue if one of the family member have obtained it and the other is not. So where is that the issue? So we have been told that they need to apply again. Their application was one of the application that went wrong in the system. So that's one of the so they will wait for 3 to 5 to 6 months until they got the final answer. So they will expect to waiting. Okay, if one of our family members got it, then it's mean soon. But unfortunately, we have to call and clarify it.
And what's been the impact because of that delay on like housing, other social
Definitely.
services? Like what?
Definitely, it's really intensified the pressure on the social programs and income assistance. You will see people not able, claimants are not able to obtain jobs because they are waiting their work permit. So also they cannot find a proper place to stay in since they don't have an income. So um, it's affecting lots of elements in their lives, definitely.
And this is a follow-up question to, I think, the Welcome House question.
Mhm.
And they're asking, do they need to have refugee ID or pink letter?
Okay, the pink letter, if it says that they have an interview, that's a very good sign. Then we would consider that as well.
Okay. And then, um, similar to Mosaic, does SOS also see a lot of families who are refugee claimants? And if
Yes.
yes, what are the specific challenges in terms of housing for those families?
Yeah. So
How do you
we
handle that? Like, how do your housing search?
Yeah, so yes, that's one of the biggest challenges is we have more than 50% of our clients are coming as families, and we receive a big number of families who have a large composition. In terms of housing, the biggest challenge is finding family shelters. Their capacity is limited, so finding a family shelter, sometimes we have struggle when we have to split the families. So the mom with the kids will go in a female shelters, and the dad will go to a male shelters. So that's one of the our really biggest challenges is family finding shelters for families.
Okay, and well, that's really sad. I hate that. So I have another question from someone who's asking about, I guess, the process and referrals. So they're asking about the services and programs that Mosaic has mentioned, and then how does SOS work in with those services? At what point do you refer on? How does this referral process
Yes.
work?
So one of the great component that Mosaic has and SOS is missing is the stream, the employment support. So it's been a great opportunity for refugee claimants to get that employment services through Stream B. So we have been promoting for the workshops and training programs within our clients. And when we identify a needs for employment, we definitely refer clients to Mosaic programs.
And because SOS predominantly works on the claim process, right?
Exactly. So yeah, we would refer to Stream B services employment, and also we have in-house the Stream A job request program. They do help refugee claimants, but with the limited services, not as not similar to the Stream B employment services.
Um, and sorry, just reading. And you mentioned the VAST supports, and I know no one from VAST is here today, but I was just wondering can anyone be referred to VAST supports? Can the client self-refer, or does it have to be referred from a settlement worker?
Any clients would just as because we are co-located SOS and VAST, so clients who come into office would ask for counseling services. They will directly refer to VAST, and also they have information, and the VAST has an information in the website of referral process, so organization can do that as well. So it's a pretty simple process, referral process. Clients can do it, can just contact VAST, an organization as well.
Okay, and then what is the location of the community kitchen for VAST and the Now What sessions? Is it in Vancouver?
Yeah, so Community Connect Community Kitchen is in Vancouver. Usually they held it after the for once a month after the getting through it, which is in Vancouver as well. The Now What is held in city every Monday.
And all of those just contact VAST to be referred.
Exactly.
And everything else isn't really related, so I'll just hold off on those. So we'll now pass it on to Fiona. And Fiona's from Diversity, and she will review Stream A services and go into detail about a meeting that was held in Fraser Valley recently and best practices that came out of that.
So, hi everyone, my name is Fiona Stevenson. I'm Manager of Volunteer and Community Programs at Diversity. Diversity is a settlement agency predominantly based in Surrey. We've been around for about 40 years there. And we are one of multiple what we call Stream A service providers under the, you've heard the acronym already, the BC funding. So there's actually many Stream A service providers across the province. And I'm going to speak a little bit about kind of what Stream A means more broadly, and then kind of just talk through a little bit about how do we see Stream A services and how do we support refugee claimants under that? And in particular, how do we intersect with Stream B services as well as other things out within the community? And just kind of within that highlight some of the kind of the challenges and some of the best practices that really have come out of our experience as one example of a Stream A service provider. So I'm going to spend less time really talking about these are examples of services we do where you can refer people, and more talk about our experience as a Stream A service provider to hopefully maybe for those of you that are Stream A as well, maybe give some ideas or food for thought around that. Or also for those of you that are not Stream A nor Stream B, just also looking at other ways that you can intersect with this funding in order to better support refugee claimants holistically. So Stream A services. So the staff in Stream A services are doing everything, because the Stream A services actually supports immigration and employment and settlement needs of a whole host of different client groups who cannot access IRCC funded services for permanent residents. So this includes naturalized citizens, both naturalized citizens who are actively seeking work, as well as naturalized citizens who perhaps can't quite access Work BC services because they maybe don't meet the criteria or don't have the language. And to a certain extent as well, a lot of services are still supporting naturalized citizens who've become senior citizens but are maybe also struggling to access mainstream services. It's also supporting international students who have got a pathway to permanent residency. And so there's a number of intersections there with post-secondary institutions in terms of how that looks. Temporary foreign workers, so another huge immigration category that's also got lots of different points of intersection around what that support looks like. Also working with other both third service providers and funding streams in relation to that funding category, and then refugee claimants. And the reason that I speak to this is because the Stream A services are broad and complex. They're highly needed, but they can be difficult to navigate. And what happens is that within those services, who's eligible and who can come to which kind of service is very much dictated by their immigration status. However, how their immigration status then intersects with age, ethnicity, profession, level of education, family structure, length of time in Canada, English level, language, that can really impact on the type of service that they can then actually access and where they might then be referred, whether they actually receive services, as an example, with us as Diversity as a Stream A service provider, or where they might be referred elsewhere as well. So going to the next slide. So really what that means, as an example for staff, is under the funding model, we actually work with something that's called a client eligibility matrix. And that's something that really determines who can go where and what kind of services they receive. I'm not going to show that here because of the not everybody who is Stream A here, but those of you that are Stream A providers would be very familiar with this matrix. But it's one of the things that really does determine these kind of complex pathways that clients are trying to navigate. And so it means that staff themselves really have to be generalists, and they have to have a really broad knowledge of how settlement, employment, and immigration needs intersect with clients' immigration status and pathways. And it means that they're working very actively across many other service providers and sectors with settlement agencies, post-secondary institutions, immigration consultants, employer, legal services, mainstream and government services in order to meet all of those needs. And the reason, again, I say this is because when it comes to refugee claimants, Stream B are the experts. And as you can hear from this afternoon, the services that are available through SOS and ISS and Mosaic and through their various partner agencies under Stream B are directly tailored to the needs of refugee claimants. And so there's many, many ways where they're able to find avenues and pathways that under Stream A we may not be able to find. And so that point of referral and that point of expertise with Stream B is vital because, again, the refugee claimant landscape, because of the needs coming in the different points of arrival, it's incredibly dynamic. And so there's been some really great structures that have been set up in terms of committees, meetings, relationships, partnerships around refugee claimants within the different municipalities and within the different service areas to respond to those needs, which have been really quite remarkable. And so for Stream A staff, and for also those of you that might see refugee claimants, but you don't do Stream A or Stream B, it's really about learning about who or what or where are some of your best points of intersect within the refugee claimants that you might be seeing in your local community. And there's been some really great contact information and programs and services shared out already to support that. This is from one of the first things I would refer anybody over to is her at the beginning of the webinars here. She shared out some really great resources that the Refugee Hub has produced. And that includes Stream A and Stream B services for refugee claimants. And I will say fully on, as a Stream A provider, I still go and look at this document in order to remind myself of where the intersections are. Because again, as I say, it's complex. And staff doing Stream A services have to have this kind of understanding of what can they do under the funding model, but at the same time, when they're looking at each of those groups that they work with, if we can't do something, where do we refer? And so these kind of documents that are produced are really vital for being able to support staff's knowledge in being able to deliver services. So there's a really great definition there that does kind of provide an overview of what do we mean when we talk about Stream A and Stream B. But Stream A really is general services. We're looking at information and support services that assist a refugee claimant with settlement and labour market re-entry. And we may be referring over to Stream B services for more intensive supports to access shelter, legal aid, mental health and trauma counselling during the initial claim process. And another two areas which are really key here as well, it's not just intensive supports, but emergency supports. Stream B is set up to really almost fast track many, many different supports that under Stream A, we may not have access to those same supports and services. Another example there as well would be anything to do with the claimant, the hearing process. Again, that's something that Stream A, given the type of knowledge that the staff have to support a wide range of needs, we're not supporting folks through the hearing process. That's again another key point of referral that we would be doing over to Stream B. So examples of services again. So this is examples of services of Stream A under diversity. And so diversity, we do Stream A services in predominantly in Surrey, but also in Delta. And then our Stream A services are done through a subcontract to ISS of BC to Langley. However, we do see referrals coming in to our offices in Surrey from a variety of places where we might have some referrals directly from Stream B. Sometimes we get calls from government or social sector services, such as Work BC, libraries, Delta, the Surrey RCMP, the hospital. In some cases, we get calls from places of worship. And we also see a lot of walk-in clients as well. And so the staff are then, depending on kind of where that point of referral has been, it means that the client might be at a very different stage in the claimant process, and so then the service delivery might be quite different. So for example, if they're a walk-in client and they have not even started the claims process, then the referral might either be over to SOS or it might be over to legal aid in order to actually start and to connect with a lawyer and to be able to start that process. In other cases, they're already well established in their claims process and they've maybe come in to get particular support with renewing their work permit or something like this. And we've received the referral because services have been overwhelmed for one particular day somewhere else, for example, in Stream B. So things could include things like support with applications for income assistance, work permit application or renewal, recreation pass applications. We also do some basic employment support as well if they've got their work permit already, which might include resume writing, labour market information, where to find employers, or referral to eligible employment programs, or referral to legal services as well. But again, the big point, the main service I would say that we really do under Stream A when it comes to refugee claimants is referral. It's a huge part of this is referral out with to other Stream B or other connected services. So just moving on. So the services might be within the settlement sector, they might be within the community. And a big part of this in terms of the identification of those needs is determining whether they are urgent or specialised, because again, Stream B is completely set up and equipped to be able to support those needs. So we'll go on to just some examples of referrals that we were looking at. And this is, again, particular to Surrey, where, and it's something that I do really highly recommend when I move on to best practices at the end, which is really starting to identify all the different places in the community that a refugee claimant can actually access. And it's actually quite remarkable the number of programs and services that you can actually find where a client's immigration status is not the barrier to being able to receive service. And usually it's just it comes from asking and calling and checking and as I mentioned before, I think as there's been more growing awareness of the needs of refugee claimants, we're starting to see more community-based support opening up to being able to find more support for claimants. So just as an example, for legal services, we might be referring over to legal aid, access pro bono, lawyer referral services, the UBC lawyer students program. Might be referring over to Ready Tours at Kinbrace that was already given examples of. Housing again is one example where typically a lot of the housing situations we're seeing tend to be emergency, so they typically are referred straight over to Stream B, who actually have various housing support workers who can who are regularly checking out shelter and family and finding some of the really complex shelter requirements that are needed, especially for the families that are coming in. Financial assistance, again, various examples that might come through in referrals that we might be doing in those cases. Just another example would be, so again, this is particular in Surrey, so referring over to medical clinics for employment. Here in Surrey, we are typically referring over to Option Stream B Employment Services, who again have lots of particular workshops and supports that are done specifically for the needs of refugee claimants and with this particular language support, which is reflective of the trends that are coming in. And sometimes we've, there's been, given the variety of employment programs that there are in the community, and not all are federally or provincially funded, that now increasingly there's a lot of employment programs that are also supported by foundations and different pieces. We sometimes have also been able to find spots at other employment programs for claimants when they've had a little bit of flexibility around their eligibility as well. Mental health, so VAST has got lots of different specialised supports that have been described already. And the one I want to pick up on here as well is internally in diversity. We ended up doing a little bit of an inventory, especially about a year and a half ago when we first started to see more claimants coming in under Stream B, or Stream A, sorry, to kind of, we realized that internally, a lot of people didn't really understand, like, who are claimants, what are they eligible for? And we did a little bit of an internal inventory to see if there was any internal supports that we could actually support folks with. And in a lot of our counselling services, they would count as what might be called ungated per se, where there's no eligibility restriction on your immigration status. And so we have some counselling services, for example, where we've had clients who are working through family violence situations where we've been able to do a referral in-house to some specialised supports. And so that we're able to actually do a little bit more wraparound support in that capacity. English comes up as a really big one. So again, under Stream B, there's various English conversation circle supports, but there's also really great informal language practice that happens in the libraries or places of worship, such as churches. And again, these are places that don't necessarily have restrictions on whether you're a permanent resident or not, and so can also be accessible to claimants as well. So we'll just move on. So needs and trends. So we've seen under Stream A from April 1st to now, we've seen 49 new refugee claimants. And just going back to the Stream A staff, so our staff are all part-time. They are employment specialists, but who are also doing a significant amount of settlement as well. And they are Spanish, Korean, and Punjabi speaking. Because again, the staff complement is set up to meet the needs of Stream A clients overall, so not just refugee claimants. And so the 49 represents, it tends to be per month in terms of new claimants. We tend to see probably about 20 to 25% of our claimants of our clients under Stream A tend to be refugee claimants. But again, that varies a great deal depending on where the referrals are coming from. And given that we sometimes see families, that can also sometimes be it's not necessarily 49 new cases, because some of that is, of course, family members as well. Now, in terms of staffing under Stream A, and I just want to reiterate this, is that while we had a number of part-time staff, it adds up to about 1.5, 1.4 full-time staff equivalent, but they're supporting clients across a full range of immigration statuses and needs. And so it means that the kind of the support they can provide is it's giving a really quick assessment as to, can we provide that under Stream A, or do we need to be referring elsewhere? We have seen quite a diversity of countries as well within those 49 new folks in this fiscal, which I think is also the diversity of countries that we're seeing was also captured under Stream B there earlier as well. And certainly in Surrey, we have been seeing a small trend of increasing Punjabi-speaking claimants, which, given that there's under Stream B, there's not so much Punjabi-speaking staff. We know of a couple where we're able to refer. That's been a kind of a trend that we have tended to see under Stream A. So families has been indicated as a trend. People that we often see as claimants are usually coming in with employment support. They're a little bit later on in their claimant process. They're usually have got their work permit. They've maybe been able to find housing. They're a bit more settled, and they're coming more to get support, maybe finding a job or changing from a job. And there is definitely a trend of claimants who have spent time in the US and have post-secondary educations, good English, and are highly skilled. And this has been a recent trend that we've noticed. So just moving on to best practices. Well, before I go to best practices, actually, so challenges. So I've mentioned before that under Stream A, the biggest challenge is that it's part-time staff who have to support a broad range of client needs. And it's really hard to maintain their knowledge of all of the supports and services for refugee claimants. what's stream A, what's stream B, what is there within the community, what is there within other sectors. And this is really challenging because they have to maintain such an active knowledge base in order to do this. Another point is that we see staff turnover, and especially for our staff teams that are the ones actually responsible for delivering services, especially when it comes to emergency cases or things that need to be that are a priority. Sometimes they want to just be able to cut through and be able to call someone and find a particular person at a time in order to support a claimant family that perhaps has been a walk-in case. And given that across all of the Stream A and Stream B services, we have a whole variety of staff with different schedules and so on, and different services in different locations, that can be something that can be quite hard to respond to at times. Housing emergencies is one of the biggest challenges in any of the municipalities or areas where we're seeing claimants. And another key example is like complex cases where the client might be interacting with social services, such as a social worker or police. And again, this is something where I think of the knowledge building that we've had to do as Stream A within our own staff teams, just around understanding refugee claimants and what they are eligible for and their needs. And then when you have to do that on a second level with the different other services they might be interacting with, that can be really challenging. And that's again where the capacity building that Stream B has been able to do. I think there's a way that we can also bridge some of that into some of the broader social services to be able to access that capacity building would be really great as well. So best practices. So big part of this is building and maintaining staff knowledge of what Stream A and Stream B services are available in your community. So using some of the existing resources that are available already, such as the BC Refugee Hub. And really starting to build ideas of services and resources that have no restrictions or immigration status for client participation. So thinking about libraries, informal language learning, conversation clubs, community services offered at places of faith, and so on, and helping staff within your own agencies kind of identifying services that might have no eligibility restrictions as well. Because again, the more that there can be identified about the places that claimants can be supported, the better. But where I would go with this as well is back to that Stream B. One of the biggest things is that there's amazing supports available under Stream B, and there's really great interactions with those services that you can do in terms of referring, but especially if you have clients that you see who are coming into your agency and they've had their supports met through Stream B and now they're just wanting to be bridged into other things within the community. There's a lot of things that they can access that don't need to be restricted by their immigration status. And then finally, big part is identifying opportunities to build ongoing relationships between staff at all levels within the community for any service provider that supports claimants. So this was something that we did out in Surrey, Delta, Langley, because again, just within the sector itself, we had some confusion mainly around Stream A. And we organised a meeting that was focused initially on Stream A providers and just about looking at how to better coordinate referrals, how to share updates, how to build relationships. And through the course of that meeting, I identified that we really needed to do something similar with Stream B. So Diversity hosted a meeting with, we had Options and Mosaic and SOS and ISS, and I'm going to see if I remembered it, and Success, and I can't remember if I remembered everybody that was in the meeting right now. But again, the focus of that meeting was about what do Stream B services look like out in the Fraser Valley and in Surrey. And just really a great opportunity for everybody to learn from one another. And it really does set good intentions, good relationships, and starts to identify where are the referrals happening, where can more referrals happen, where are there great opportunities to collaborate around programming, who's aware of what, and it's something that we hope to build on as well, and that it's not just a one-off piece as well. So I really do strongly recommend under the BC SIS funding looking at different types of collaboration coordination meetings through different lenses, not just who else doing that programming overall, but looking at it through the lens of Stream A, Stream B, and by different client groups such as claimants or international students or citizens. Identifying networking opportunities for your staff, which don't necessarily just need to be claimant specific, but there's been some really great recent activities such as the World Refugee Day. Had some really great opportunities there for staff learning directly more about the claimant process, as well as networking with other agencies across the Lower Mainland who support claimants. Co-locations of services where that's possible. So diversity, we now have 2 staff who go on rotation once per month out to the new ISS of BC Welcome House, where SOS is also located. And it's been really, really great as a way of really just improving those essential frontline relationships that make such a difference to coordination and referral and collaboration of services. Looking for ways to build your staff capacity to share information and to watch things such as all the webinars from AMSA, the BC Refugee Hub. And I know how challenging this is with part-time staff. We've had to identify different ways to have perhaps one staff attend something and share back with the group, or being able to access when the webinars are available online and watching them together in team meetings to remind ourselves of some key information. I think also it's really important to be building staff capacity to attend other network meetings. So MAP Vancouver and MAP Fraser Valley have both been mentioned. If you're not able to attend the meetings face to face, they also do fantastic mailing out or mailing lists. So both groups do mailing lists where they regularly share out all of the different programs and services that are unique for refugee claimants. And so even if you have staff who aren't able to participate in the meetings, just being on the mailing list for these groups is a really great way of staying up to date on programs and services. And then this is just the last piece is something that we're exploring again out in Surrey Delta Langley, is about looking at maybe doing a short, simple contact list for frontline Stream A and Stream B staff with language, phone and email. So something that we can commit to on a quarterly basis, again, just to try it as a way to cut through the referral red tape and be able to really help staff maintain for emergencies, who's your first point of call. Okay. And I'm not going to put up a huge thing about diversity here because, again, for refugee claimants, you really want to be connecting first with Stream B services where possible. But certainly if you have any questions around kind of ways that we as Stream A kind of intersect with Stream B or more broadly, that's my contact information there.
Great. Thanks, Fiona. So we have a few questions here, and then I have questions for everyone again. So you mentioned the diversity counseling services. So that service does have eligibility for refugee claimants, and if so, how does someone refer to them?
Sure. So we have some programs that are eligible for refugee claimants, and it's more a case of that our counselling services are funded from about 15 different contracts, and the majority of them don't have immigration status as a requirement. However, they might have other eligibility criteria, for example, where, for example, if it's a family violence program, there's certain criteria there that they may need to meet. On our website, there's actually a counselling referral form, and that would be the best point of contact. You can also contact me directly as well if you wanted to check to learn more about a particular program. So yeah, it really depends on the particular kind of need for counselling services that there is.
And does the counselling services have a catchment area?
Again, it depends on the contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the thing that I wanted to point out with counselling services as an example is just that was one thing that internally we were really surprised to learn is that that there are lots of different examples of programs which are meeting a really particular need. And again, it's not counselling broad-based for refugee claimants. It might be a really particular need and specialised need under counselling. That it was an example of a program area that doesn't necessarily need to have a particular immigration status for a client to participate in this. And this is something that I really strongly advocate for anyone who's listening today is doing it almost like an internal inventory to kind of look at your programs and services through the lens of immigration status. Because especially for claimants or for international students or temporary foreign workers, being able to find those points of access is really important.
The next question is about on the best practices slide. You mentioned there's a list of services that it's a simple contact list that the organizations that attended the meeting decided they would put together. How does someone access that list if they are a service provider in the Fraser Valley?
Oh, so it's a list that's just been put together, actually. So we had our quarterly, the first Stream B meeting just there in end of July or beginning of August. I think it was beginning of August there. And so it's a simple template that we're just collecting together the staff information now. And I think it is probably a contact list that we probably, once it's complete, that we could share out with anybody that is in the Fraser Valley, and maybe through the Fraser Valley map might be one area to share that out.
Great. And then with the list, how did you develop it? Just if other regions want to do the same thing, like is it just anybody that will see refugee claimants, or what's the?
Yeah, at the moment it's intended just for people that are funded under Stream A and Stream B is really the intention of the list. Again, because I want to redirect people back to the BC Refugee Hub's overall lists, which were kind of a quite exhaustive inventory of what's funded under Stream A and Stream B. So this was really just intended as a list that can be dynamic. So really a staff contact list that we would commit to updating on a regular basis. And so I'm very happy to share the template out with anybody that'd like to see it afterwards. But that's where, again, I would really encourage people to look at what their needs might be region by region. Because it's something like a list like this is something that might work for Delta Langley, but it might not work for other regions.
And then refugee claimants that come to diversity and access Stream A services, have they not seen Stream B services yet, or is it that they're seeing diversity just because it's closer to them? Is it geographical? Like, what is the?
It depends on the referral. It really does. And so, I mean, as an example, we have a Punjabi-speaking staff under Stream A who's got quite a lot of close community contacts, and so she'll sometimes see referrals coming in from the temple, for example, when she works with a lot in the delivery of those services. In some cases, it might be geographical, where we've seen just a walk-in of a family who, are in the Newton area and have, in some cases, just somehow looked up a settlement agency and walked in. In other cases, the referrals are coming over from Stream B services because they have provided all of the support they can to a certain extent and have to be able to prioritize and meet those urgent and priority needs of other claimants. And so they're referring clients over to Stream A at that point.
So there's no specific step on how clients access services. They just kind of go wherever.
Yeah, no, and I think that's, and that's certainly one of the things with Stream A and Stream B that, again, as I keep saying, why we're looking to, kind of build on these, the coordination meetings that we've sort of established and that we're looking to build on in Delta Langley, is because it's the entire funding landscape under the BC SIS funding is incredibly dynamic, given all the client groups that are under this. And so there's a real need to meet on a regular basis to share updates and to, reestablish whether the referral processes that may have been in place several months ago are still working, or whether something needs to be shifted or not.
And then this could be for you or anyone else at the table. Who is the contract holder for Langley, and are there services in Langley for refugee claimants?
We could speak to that. So ISS is the Stream B contract holder for Langley, and Mosaic can offer customized employment services within that region as well.
And I think, Fiona, you mentioned that someone goes out to Langley?
No, we have a subcontract for Stream A services to ISS in Langley.
Oh, okay. Okay, so a refugee claimant can go access services. Okay, perfect. And then these are more questions for everyone. So MAP BC was mentioned. Matt Fraser Valley and Matt BC. So can you please expand on that and how someone can join and is there like a criteria or can anyone join the meetings or how does it work and what's shared in those meetings?
We'd like to speak to Matt.
Sure, yeah. Multi-agency partnership, MAP for short, is a collaboration of refugee claimant serving organizations or individuals. There are two tiers of participation. Either people can join as the organizations can join as members or partners. For partners, they can run for election for the executive membership and all that. But otherwise, anyone can come to attend. Normally, it's the fourth Thursday of the month, and it normally the BC one happens either at Mosaic or ISS of BC or at other different partner locations, and it's normally from 9:30 to noon. And really, the participation is great because there is a lot of discussion happening around everything related to refugee claimant, housing, employment, counseling, different access. And what makes it really good is that we do have representation from legal aid. We do have representation from the provincial government. We do have representation also from IRCC, IRB, sometimes CBSA as well. And with all of those type of collaboration, there is a lot of discussion happening on how we can coordinate our services to better support refugee claimants. Fraser Valley, it's pretty much the same notion, is to bring everybody together to talk about issues related to refugee claimant. To attend, you can get in touch with info@mapbc.org for BC. And for the Fraser Valley one, refugee claimant at mosaicbc.org, and we will gladly provide any other information needed.
Absolutely. And one piece I would add in response to a question that was Fiona earlier about some interest in an integrated list of resources available for refugee claimants in the Fraser Valley. You hit an important point, whoever asked that question, and that's one of the goals of the Fraser Valley map. We're currently working collectively to come up with a full, dynamic, and ever-evolving list of all of the services available in the Fraser Valley.
And Fiona mentioned that emails are sent out regularly. Can someone just join that listserv? How would they do that?
For MapBC?
Yeah, for MapBC, again, it's info@mapbc.org. If you just send an email saying that you are interested in receiving emails, I'm pretty sure Jenny Moss would be excited to hear that. And there is always information circulated about different services that are offered throughout the region. And it's a really good platform to get, of course, in addition to BC Refugee Hub. So the newsletter gets sent out on a regular basis.
And for the Fraser Valley map, I encourage you again to just email refugeeclaimant@mosaicbc.org, and we'll make sure to add you to the mailing list. In terms of people that are joining the Fraser Valley map meetings, we are aiming to include more people specifically who are from the Fraser Valley area. So there has been a lot of interest of people coming over from Vancouver, and that's great to a point, but we also are trying to really focus on participants being from the Fraser Valley because we're discussing and exploring issues specifically related to service providers and community members in that region.
And by the way, membership is free for both groups.
But tips are appreciated.
And it was refugee claimant at Mosaic BC?
Refugee Claimant at mosaicbc.org. It's the same that has been listed in our slides.
So I'm just sending that out to everyone that's currently logged on, both the Fraser Valley one and the Map BC one. So I'll just send to all. Hopefully everyone receives that. And then I'll also post it on the BC Refugee Hub when I post all of the documents and PowerPoint decks and everything.
If I could, just a really important, quick thing is, as I mentioned before, the next Fraser Valley MAP meeting is hosted on the afternoon of Tuesday, September 24th. And this is going to be, one of our guest speakers is Fran Gallo from the Ready Tours, and she'll be discussing the impact of Bill C-97 to refugee claimants in the Fraser Valley. And we'll also be exploring the power and the opportunity of refugee claimants in the Fraser Valley to attend the RAD orientations for those who have been denied refugee status and how they can do a refugee within the Refugee Appeal Division.
And we had another question about contacting VAST. So their website is vast-vancouver.ca. And at the very top, there's in blue, there's a link that says make a referral.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can fill out that form, and that's how you would be referred to VAST.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another question, it's just for SOS, but it says, can we invite SOS to provide a presentation in our settlement agency? Does SOS do off-site workshops? So I did respond to this person directly that we did do a webinar in November that clearly lists like all the different services of SOS, but I don't know if you want to.
Yes, yeah, that webinar is quite helpful. However, there is some update in terms of the refugee claimant process and what they are eligible for and the resources that we have. So we will, SOS team is glad to be to represent workshops or give any presentation that could cover the services refugee claimants are eligible for. They can contact me and I will arrange for that.
And then we have one last question. A refugee claimant from Richmond or living in Richmond, where can they access services?
Yeah, so there are some BC service providers in Richmond, including Success and others as well. Sorry, I don't have the exact list. But for StreamB services, as we mentioned, it falls under the ISS of BC, customized settlement support. For employment, they can definitely contact Mosaic and we will gladly provide any support needed.
Yeah, it looks like based on the inventory list that Success is funded for Stream A, and then ISS of BC is funded for Stream A and B. But yeah,
Yes.
those are the two organizations that are funded, but we'll see. Yeah. Perfect. So do you guys have any final comments, or we're about 9 minutes early, but that's okay.
I would just say check the BC Refugee Hub. We always post our workshops, events for refugee claimants. It's quite helpful. And if you need any information that we posted in through the newcomers, we'll be happy to do so and just contact me.
And I would say to echo what Fiona said, please look into the client eligibility criteria for your programs, because we did to date focus on Stream B services that we offer at our organization. But in addition to that, we do have the legal advocacy program that supports services. We have victim services and many other counseling programs that really don't have any eligibility criteria attached to it. The eligibility criteria for victims would be any victim of crime without any going into immigration status of the person. So look into those and you will be surprised to see how many other services your organization is offering or someone in your region would be providing.
So just to touch on what Salim said, we actually have a short inventory of all the organizations that are funded under the Law Foundation for the legal advocacy program. So we'll release that soon as well. We're just getting it finalized with all the partners. And then we'll release that, and that has all the information for who can apply, eligibility, how to make referrals between organizations, but also from other settlement organizations, and if a client can self-refer. And I think most of those programs, it says exhaust legal aid first, and then once that's exhausted, then these legal advocacy programs can be accessed. So that'll be really soon on the BC Refugee Hub and also to all the partners. So they'll probably send it out to their networks as well. Thank you everyone for joining me. Fiona, Miad, Alexandra, Salim, thank you for coming out on this rainy day and providing all this really amazing information. Hopefully it fosters a more collaborative environment that we already have, obviously, but and also helps with referrals for our clients. Thanks everyone and goodbye.